Alright guys, I'm not one for usually posting videos, but gotta post this on here. 1.14 update Minecraft. Cannot find a working potato farm. I spent all day long working on this. I finally got it working. It works perfectly. So I'll kind of walk you through it here. Basically, you got 15 pistons, sticky pistons. 2 blocks up, puts a block down on the ground, blocks the water here. You put a source block of water, 15 long. And on the back side here, you've got 15 dispensers. And then the hopper system is set up with bone meal. We're going to bring this in with some supply of bone meal later. A little item elevator and whatnot from down here, but that's all not part of the system right now. I mean, it needs the bone meal to work properly, but we'll work on that later. Down underneath here, got a set of hoppers that are going back to our system that auto cooks the food and puts it in a chest for us. I haven't got that tied in yet, but it does work into the hoppers, and it is filling the last hopper with potatoes. So you can see that working. It's got 51 potatoes in it currently, and it's only cycled twice. So this thing actually works pretty well. It cycles during the day off of a daylight sensor. Now I'll get into that right here. Sorry, I won't do a breakdown of how everything works, but I am going to give you the idea of it. There's a daylight sensor in the bottom down here. I made a 3x3 with the hollow core down to that. You can do that any way you want, but the idea is you go 1, 2, 3, and you can see down here, it's that you can't see it, 5 blocks over to where I make the turn. And then it pops out right here. That daylight sensor applies redstone signal out. I'm going to walk up this here to a repeater that feeds this line and keeps the pistons pressed down during the daylight. Of course, it's nighttime now. The system just cycled. So there is nothing growing currently. The farmers will not plant if they do not have a light level above 8, I do believe is the number. So he is not going to plant right now. I have that system is set up to keep it pressed during the day, but at nighttime, what I did is I put a little T on this system, which goes down over to this block here, and it provides power to this redstone torch, which deactivates the torch, deactivating this level here. So during the nighttime, that torch is lit because there is no redstone signal. That in turn powers this line across here and back into the same rail. So for a short duration between night and day, there is a signal drop on both sides, and it causes these pistons to release and flood water across the row of farming here. Now, of course, you could probably do the row where he stands on too, but that negates the dispenser and the bone meal. The bone meal and dispenser cause it to grow much faster. So, comes out, goes into this block here, also comes up here. And that's what causes it to only have a short duration between. The little circuit you see split off here that runs along the back, I did a quick timer. This does a 5 or 6 pulse each time it loses redstone signal, and causes the dispensers to cycle 5 times or 6 times, which in turn gives them plenty of bone meal and causes them to grow the food really quickly. So it's fully developed and ready to harvest whenever it turns the cycle and it floods. So we'll go through a quick rundown, and you can see I put a repeater here and there, which gives it a 15 block run. Powers all these blocks here and powers the dispensers facing downward. So that will cause the crop underneath to grow quickly. I am in survival, so I cannot force the growth. So I will guess there's go through it real slowly here so that way you can see how all of this redstone is done. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it turns in 5 blocks before it comes out here. It's real important to make sure that the length of these is correct, because if they're too short or too long, the duration of the pistons is too long or too short. You want it to flood for just a few seconds and then close again. It also keeps your villager from turning into a zombie, so you don't want him being in water too long. Then once I come out of the daylight sensor, comes out right here, the redstone comes over one. I make it jump up these blocks here and into this repeater, which just keeps a strong signal, because by the time it gets to here it's pretty weak. So I make it a strong signal here. You might be able to make this a little smaller and not need the repeater, but I put it in there. Doesn't hurt anything. Makes a nice and strong signal to this repeater here. Again, that's for when it's daylight. It keeps the pistons pressed. And that signal then tees right here and goes back this way into this block here, which will deactivate the redstone torch if it was daytime. But since it's nighttime and no redstone signal coming in, the torch is lit, which powers this block here. Then put a repeater on it to run it a long ways. And I simply just ran it across the top here and back over here. Obviously, you could have made that a little shorter, but it doesn't matter. It's plenty of strong signal to make that repeater stay lit, powering the pistons again at nighttime. We're getting close to the transition period, so you'll get to see what happens here. And the little timer back here on the back, basically as it powers the daylight sensor, it will power this repeater into that block, in turn lights that torch, and it makes a real quick timer. It usually does this on the cycle out, not the cycle in. It does one click on the cycle in and that's it, but on the cycle out it will click 5 to 6 ticks, which will cause it to completely grow all of the plants. So you will get to see as the daylight starts to come up, the redstone signal will grow because it is a daylight sensor, so it grows that signal. That's why it's so far away. You can change this on how it works, but it works really well to make it this far away. As you can see the signal coming out there. It's coming across as it gets brighter. Like I said, that is the 5th, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 blocks before the repeater. As you can see, the sun's coming up. It's starting to go up. You will see the cycle of water. It's lifted those. The water is flooding. If there were crops there, it would have washed those crops. I'm sure some of you guys can make a much better, more efficient system that you could apply lights up here and he would plant at night and possibly make the signal go again. Now it's daytime, the light's above the right light. The farmer will plant all of the potatoes. Another thing I should mention is that when they grow to full size, he will farm them, and that is okay because that keeps his stock full. you will need to fill this farmer with potatoes. And like I said, this is the 1.14 update. So in order to make him a farmer, you will need a composter and a bed. So I just put these out here on the outside. I did put the bed on top at first, but somehow it would glitch and he would end up in the bed on top of this. So I recommend not putting it on top, but putting them somewhere here close to the vicinity. You might even be able to build him a little room or something, but I had issues with him leaving the bed. He would just stand on it all day. In this particular case, he's already planted the entire crop. As you can see now that it's daytime, and that signal reached maximum signal, you heard the click. The click has dropped it dispensed one dill, and all the plants kind of got a good boost. One dill of bone meal on every one of them. Best part about this is if there is no plant, the dispenser will not dispense the bone meal. It will just hold on to it. If for some reason it doesn't have something there, you don't have just bone meal standing on the ground. Now this signal has gotten max so it has kicked on this signal here. I think on the one I built in creative mode, I made it one more longer, and that actually slowed down the timing to where the sun was about probably 20-30 degrees above the horizon, and it would do its cycle. Now it's going to be more about 40 to 50 degrees above the horizon, and it floods and does the bone meal cycle. Sorry I don't have it on creative now, but I wanted you to see it in survival working and the ease of building it. It's actually a pretty small footprint. You could obviously make this much smaller if you didn't need to make so much, but there's a lot of us on this server, so we try to produce a lot of food. And again, you can see the signal going around, staying active, which dispensers only work off of pulse, so you could probably build some sort of clock or something on it to make them do it, but you don't want to overkill it. 3 or 4 pulses on the dispensers and they're going to be completely grown. Again, it will not waste bone meal. So if the plant is completely grown, it will not give it anymore. So this is a very efficient system. Of course, I wish there was a way to break bone into bone meal, for we could take our skelly farm and make it into bone meal without having to automate it, so we didn't have to do it manually, but maybe one day they'll do that update. As you can see, this farmer, he might actually pick a few of these potatoes here in a minute if they get big enough. Again, I'm sorry this isn't in creative, or I could speed up the time here. Let's see if I covered everything. I put a piece of glass on here to keep stuff from falling in. You can see the daylight sensor down there. You can see, try to catch this at all angles. So if somebody's rebuilding this, you could maybe improve on it or count my blocks. Let's see just how many I have here. If you ever need to get into it, you can just break down these two here and send it, get in there if you needed to. We brought our villager from our town, our little homemade village over there, which as you can see, this is our little homemade village. We were trying to do the potato farm in here and failed and failed and failed. With the new update, it has changed the mechanics so much. But we were having an issue, even being this far away. We were still having the farmer associating himself to his workstation, and we're like 70 blocks away from it. So you can see mass storage system here. We just brought our track into it and just put him in some rail carts and brought him over here. And that made it really easy. Now we're going to go ahead and tie this into our system back there, where that way we can have everything tied in. I guess while we're waiting for the sun to do its thing, I can kind of give you guys a little tour of our place. Looks like I'm lagging here. As you can see, we've got our house, Creeper, Skelly. Skelly is actually a skeleton farm underneath. As you can see, we've got our farm here. Also, fully automated type system here. Just like I build any other sorter, we built a sorting system to sort out the stackable items first, and then anything left that's non-stackable goes into this chest here, which is somebody left on, and goes to a burn pit, so it's got some hoppers under here that send it over to burn. As you can see, non-stackable items form in here, and stackable items or arrows and bones are separated here. The system's actually kind of neat behind it. Maybe one day I'll do a little update on that. And let's see here. See our little biodome going on here. Alright, we're getting close to a cycle, so I'll be quick. Show some of our pixel art. Our sorting system. Auto farm, which I'm not sure it's still all working with the new update. We're going to play with that later. Back on this. The reason I'm doing this video, as you can see, the sun's about to get down to a certain point that's going to reduce the amount of redstone signal on that line there. And there it is. It pulses 5 or 6 times, causes the entire garden to go to full growth. And this time, usually the farmer will pick a few, which it looks like he might have already done because he's not grabbing any of them, so his inventory is still pretty full. And that's one thing I had to do, was make sure he was a farmer by putting a composter in a bed here. And then I gave him 7 stacks of potatoes. And that's usually the max that they can hold. I'm pretty sure that is the max they can hold. And any more than that, and the potatoes would just sit right here. So as you can see, let's get our numbers before it floods. You see all the potatoes growing there, all full. Let's see here. Just go ahead and pull these out. There's no potatoes in the hoppers. There it goes. It floods, breaks the potatoes out of the ground, gets that little daylight cycle. Once it gets just a little bit further down, it closes. Consider nighttime. This signals back to the redstone torch being activated, and the hoppers close, or the pistons close. So now we have an empty farm. As you can see, there's no potatoes in it. Of course, the light levels are too low now for him to plant again. So again, y'all guys could probably help make this thing way more efficient. I hope to see somebody really break this down and make it something special. As you can see, there's no potatoes in the farm. All of them are going through the hoppers right now. Let's give me enough time to wash down here. See how many we got. $42. We have 42 potatoes, one wash, 1 day cycle. 42 potatoes a day, that's enough to keep us 3 of us fed. So, again, I'm probably going to fart with this a little more and make it more efficient, put some lighting on it, make him plant it at night as well as day, and we'll have 2 full cycles of potatoes a day because it does cycle the pistons already twice a day. So that will probably improve it quite a bit. And to do that, I probably just need to put some glowstone lamps up here or some end rods, something with some bright light. I'm pretty sure that's it. I don't answer the comments or questions, so hopefully you can figure it out from this. Pretty sure I've covered all the details on it. Hopefully this helps somebody get the 1.14 potato farm back to working order. Good luck. Thanks, guys.